Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 most deserving conductors supported by major record labels. Now, we did a talk, part of this series, the 5 least deserving conductors. And it was very interesting to see what your responses were, because when I do these lists of these things generally, I try to be as objective as possible. Obviously, personal taste plays a role, but it's a limited role. And what you guys do is, well, I hate this one, I like that one. This shouldn't be on the list because I like him. He shouldn't be there because he did one good thing. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you think. We're talking about history, friends. History. The facts of history. Not just whether you like somebody or don't like somebody. Get beyond that. Use your experience and knowledge of the wider world of classical music recordings, and let's see what you come up with. It's a good exercise sometimes, I think anyway, to sort of take a step back and say, well, wait a minute. Okay, I may like this, but what really happened? And what does, what you like have to do with it? And what difference does it make what really happened, frankly, if you like what you like? I mean, it's all, sort of two different things. So let's talk about the most deserving conductors. What do we mean by deserving? It means they had talent, they had the range that justified making lots and lots of records, and they delivered pretty consistent results over time. Now, whether you enjoyed them or not, no one cares. Because that's not the question. We do lots of talks where it's all about what you like and what you don't like and what your preferences are. This is not one of them. So I just want to make that clear. Here we go. The 5 most deserving conductors. First, Herbert von Karajan. Don't tell me he was a Nazi. Don't tell me that there's a moral issue. Don't tell me that you hate his sound. He had all the qualifications for deserving the career that he had. He made terrific records of lots of repertoire. He was versatile as an orchestral conductor and as an operatic conductor. His discography is tremendously distinguished, and it extends over Deutsche Grammophon, EMI, Decca. You might say he gathered too much power unto himself in a megalomaniacal kind of way, which I can't argue with. I mean, you could argue yes or no, that his success precluded others from having success that perhaps they deserved. That's also something that may well be true, but that doesn't mean that his success wasn't deserved. It was. Furtwängler hated him? Okay. I mean, but he had the talent. He was the right guy in the right place at the right time. He stayed with his orchestra for decades. He had a distinctive sound, a distinctive interpretive approach, and it sold, and it was artistically valid, and so there you go. I'm not always a fan of Karajan. I think a lot of the stuff that he recorded was not great when he applied, his own procedure to it. I think he made too many records. I think he recorded the same stuff over and over again too many times. But none of that matters. He deserved his acclaim and the support of his labels. Next, Leonard Bernstein. There's another one. He's a polarizing figure. Some people like him, some people hate him. I've never seen much rationale between the hating part, frankly, because he was an incredible musician. And there we're talking about an absolute genius who could do everything, and all of it well. He was a composer. He was a teacher. He was a tremendous conductor. He even played the piano rather well. I mean, he was a performing artist and composer musician, the likes of which we may not see again anytime soon. Really, really gifted in any number of ways. He had the support of Columbia and then Deutsche Grammophon as well, and made fabulous recordings with all of them. Again, he had a long career. Because he had a long career, he was able to duplicate a lot of repertoire. Some of it was unnecessary. Some of it wasn't very good. Some of it got kind of perverse as he got older. But overall, he was a force to be reckoned with. And he deserved the attention that he got. Next, Eugene Ormandy with the Philadelphia Orchestra. Here's a case similar to Karajan, actually, of a conductor who spent his entire career, virtually his entire career, let's put it that way, in one place, and who developed his own particular sound, his own particular approach. He lasted long enough and was consistent enough to be supported by first Sony and then RCA and then eventually EMI at the end of his life. But he was a tremendously consistent musician, a fine musician, a quality musician. His name came to be associated with certain repertoire, particularly the Russian Romantics, but whose range extended well beyond that, because he did wonderful things for American music, for composers like Ives. He did fantastic Delius. He did amazing, he even did good Beethoven and really fine Brahms. He was underrated as a conductor of German music. He promoted Sibelius. He promoted Bartók back when they were new. He was a tremendously competent musician. People say because he was competent that he wasn't terribly exciting, and he wasn't. He wasn't as exciting as others who were doing some of the same things that he was doing, but he was never less than really good most of the time. And his discography was enormous and of incredible quality, as we learned, as all of those boxes got reissued on Sony. Hundreds of discs of fantastic music making. And so he deserved the support of his major label, which was largely Sony, and then RCA. Next, Adrian Boult. Adrian Boult is a name that people often, won't pay much attention to, especially if you're in like continental Europe and sometimes the U.S., because he was, in some respects, a local talent. He was a conductor at the BBC and then the London Philharmonic after his retirement from the BBC, but he had a tremendously long and illustrious career, and he championed a fabulous school of music that is the 20th century English school of composers. Vaughan Williams, Elgar, Holst, Moran, Rubra, you name it. He did it along with his teachers, Parry and Stanford. And, it was because of him that much of that repertoire survived to be heard in the 20th century and picked up by the independent labels and the smaller labels that were learning to mine and exploit lesser-known repertoire. But he was also a very, very good musician, a very persuasive advocate of that music. And he was supported by HMV, mostly, Decca part of the time, but later HMV in his golden years. And they made really an excellent series of recordings. He was less interesting in the standard repertoire. Granted, it wasn't what he did. He was more of a specialist, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. He deserved the support of his label because he kept alive a wonderful, wonderful school of music making that might otherwise never have gotten the attention that it really deserved. It wasn't going to happen anywhere else. So Adrian Boult, I think, is a wonderful example of a serious local talent who could develop an international following by being promoted by a major label, and who proved, I think, that the repertoire that was his specialty was also deserving of international attention. I think his importance in that respect cannot be underestimated. And last but not least, oh boy, Antal Dorati. A lot of people don't realize, but Antal Dorati was one of the most recorded conductors of the entire 20th century. He was right up there with Bernstein and Karajan and Schulte and all that. It's just that the repertoire that he did was a little bit more unusual. Sometimes it was popular repertoire, but most of the time he was, his Mercury legacy, yes, you get Brahms and you get Tchaikovsky and you get all this stuff. It's very, very good. But what he's known for is the lesser known stuff. The Tchaikovsky orchestral suites, and he did all of that Bartók, and he did Second Viennese School, and he did, really, really interesting composers, wonderfully worthy music, but more to the point, he did the complete Haydn symphonies. He was the Haydn guy on Decca and Phillips, for the operas as well. Really an extraordinary legacy and just an enormous discography. I mean, think of his Richard Strauss. Yes, he did some of the normal tone poems, but he also did the Egyptische Helen. Really fascinating. A fascinating musical voice. And he was also tremendously consistent. I mean, he was very, very good at Czech music, and Hungarian music, and romantic music, and Russian music, and contemporary music. His Copland was superior. His Stravinsky was excellent. He was really, really a capable conductor. And for that reason, he managed to have an amazing career on several major labels. And he absolutely deserved their support because he filled in so many repertoire gaps. He understood that everybody was doing the same thing, so he should not. And he did it in a really classy and capable way. So there you have it. The 5 most deserving conductors supported by major record labels with extensive discographies. So that's the point, guys. There were others. And I know you're going to tell me who they were. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.